So this is part 2 of the multiplying and dividing fraction section. This section of the video is going to focus on dividing. So when we divide fractions, we won't actually divide them. We're actually going to turn them into a multiplication problem. And so we're going to keep the first fraction alone, change division to multiplication, and we're going to flip the second fraction. Flipping that second fraction is called the inverse or the reciprocal. So first we're going to practice finding the inverse or reciprocal of a number. So 1/8, the reciprocal of that would be 8 over 1. We just flip it. And 8 over 1 can be reduced to 8. For B, 3 is really 3 over 1. So when we flip that and get the reciprocal, we get 1/3. For C, turn it into an improper fraction first. So 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So negative 9 over 4. Flip that to get the reciprocal to get negative 4/9. Notice that even though the 9 had the negative when I wrote it the first time, I put the negative on the 4 the second time. I always put the negative on the numerator. So get in that habit. It just makes things easier, more clear. It really doesn't matter where the negative goes. It just looks better and you're used to seeing it on the numerator. So we're going to do some practice problems. So we're going to keep the first fraction 1/5. Change division to multiplication, flip the second fraction. Once we do that, we can multiply straight across. So 1 times 4 is 4, 5 times 7, 35, and that cannot be reduced. Part B, keep the first fraction, change division to multiplication, flip the second fraction. So notice I put my negative with my numerator, even though the negative was on the entire fraction. That's just to make sure that negative gets transferred over somehow. 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. 2 times 10 is 20. 20 goes into 21 once with a remainder of 1 over 20, and it was negative. Part C, this negative 2 is really negative 2 over 1. So keep the first fraction, change division to multiplication, flip the second fraction. Negative 9 times negative 1 is 9. 5 times 2 is 10. So it is positive 9/10. Part D, we're going to change negative 2 to negative 2 over 1. Change negative 3 and 4/5 to an improper fraction. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 4 is 19, so that's negative 19 over 5. Notice I have not flipped anything yet. I just rewrote the original problem. So once you have just two fractions in your division problem, now we can do the keep, change, flip. So keep the first fraction, change division to multiplication, flip the second fraction. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. 1 times 19 is 19, and that cannot be reduced. Last one, we need to turn our two mixed numbers into improper fractions before we can do the keep, change, flip. So 7 times 1 is 7, plus 6 is 13 over 7. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 is 23 over 4. So keep the first fraction, change division to multiplication, flip the second fraction. 13 times 4 is 52, and 7 times 23 is 161, and that cannot be reduced, so I'm done. So division is a lot like multiplication because we turn it into a multiplication problem. Just remember to keep the first fraction how it is, change division to multiplication, and flip only the second fraction. Once you have that, you can go ahead and solve. If you have any questions, let me know.